Thank you. I'm happy to be here. What is this actually, and how can we put it into our own lives to get really great results? I have the amazing Taylor Carr. Thank you so much for having me. It is beautiful when you can be a woman who's open and loving and still smart and savvy and modern and classic and all these things, because the feminine is the all. Hello, welcome back to the Modern Muse Diaries. I'm so grateful to have you here. Today's episode, I'm just going to do a little bit of a riff because I had a post go viral on Threads a couple of nights ago, 2 nights ago, and just such beautiful comments in the comment section and beautiful conversations that are striking up, and then some questions. And I want to respond to the overarching question with a podcast, because this is probably one of the most beautiful conversations I could have. It's one of the most heart-centered conversations I could have. It feels important, it feels delicious, it feels very sacred. So the post that went viral on Threads goes a little something like this. I'm going to be so real with you guys. The level of self-work it took to actually be able to receive an incredible, kind, loving, patient man who takes care of me in every way was so deep. I don't see enough people talking about the absolute portal you've got to walk through to actually receive what you think you're asking for. And again, this post went pretty viral. A lot of really beautiful comments, and the overarching question was, okay, but what does that mean? Like, what was the self-work? Was it therapy? Like, what is it that you did? And I wish I had like a pill answer for you. Like, here's one pill for you to take, and then there you are, and then congratulations, you're healed and you can receive this. And it isn't quite like that. I mean, my personal growth and personal self-work journey has been a journey of, let's see, it's 2025 and I started doing personal development work in 2012. That's a long time, right? That's well over 10 years. And of course, I am a coach, I'm an expert, I coach women on how to speed up the timeline so that they don't have to do as much trial and error as I did. Like, that is my career. And I see women getting results in as quick as 2 to 3 months, all the way up to a year and a half of working with me. But the shifts are really, really massive. And so I wanted to make a podcast where I really talk about the most important things I think that brought me to this journey. And some of them I'm not even sure I've talked about yet, which are the shifts that I've had to make from inside the relationship, right? Because I am a professional relationship and dating coach expert, and I talk a lot about feminine energy and masculine energy, but a lot of my forward-facing content is the dating content and the stuff you get to heal in the dating phase or when you're single. And I haven't quite addressed as much of the healing and deep work I've had to do from inside the relationship. So first and foremost, I started doing feminine energy work, like learning what feminine and masculine energy was from a more sacred place in 2014, 2015. The first book I ever picked up on the subject was The Way of the Superior Man by David Deida. This is an OG classic book that I think many people have read in the personal development space. It's a good book. Is it a little outdated? Yes, it is. But it's a good book, and it's not as like Christian patriarchal as I think a lot of other masculine feminine content is. And I appreciate that, because masculine and feminine dynamics, archetypes, energetics they predate Christianity by thousands of years. Like, the idea of masculine and feminine is a very ancient way of looking at energy. It's yin and yang. And so looking at the origins of that was really helpful for me in my day-to-day life. At that time, I would have been 24, 25 years old. I think I was 24. And I just started playing with the energetics of feminine. And on top of that, I started playing with the energetics of what does it mean to be a woman? Because there's all of this weird stuff that's like not teaching women how to be women. And men are men, right? Like, men are taught to be men. And no one has a audiobook out. Well, maybe there's an audiobook. I actually don't know if that's true, but there's not as much discourse, we'll say it that way, in the direction of what is a man. Like, there isn't an entire docu-series looking for what a man is, right? I'm just gonna open this up so you get a little more lighting. There we go. Whereas my womanhood had to become like weirdly taboo topic that I wasn't taught about, and learning more about my menstruation, learning more about my cycles, my cyclical nature, right? My fertility, my ovulation versus my luteal or follicular phase, my bleeding phase, what that means for me, my energy, my diet, right? My hormones, my nutrition, my weight, my vagina, like my breasts, my body, like getting really in touch with what all of this meant. Because I think when I went down the journey of why does the medical system seem to not know very much about women's bodies, and I'm going to heal myself or die trying. If you don't know this, I had an incurable pain disease when I was 21, 22 years old, and I guess 20 as well, but I got diagnosed at 21, called interstitial cystitis, and I got pelvic floor dysfunction. And I was going through treatments, and the doctors couldn't help me, and they thought, just keep shoving saline solution inside of me with a catheter and somehow that might help, and it didn't. And they thought we could put me on medication and that, probably wouldn't work and I might lose my hair, but they could try. And I think that was a really important part of my journey where I just got curious about being a woman and the female body and why it's so different from men. And even to this day, I feel like we've gotten softer on this topic, but the way that people still go, you can't say that, you can't talk about men and women being different is so strange to me. It's so odd to me. And I have some controversial opinions around anything or anyone who comes in and tries to make woman or womanhood difficult. But anyways, so yeah, so learning about my cyclical nature as a woman, learning about my body was really important. Learning about my cycles, my fertility, my hormones, really important. I became like a sponge of knowledge. All I did besides like work, and I was an actress at the time and I was doing my, day-to-day thing, but in my free time, I was taking courses and studying nonstop about women and feminine energy and history and the witch wound and all of these things. So I think the first thing that I did in this journey was love being a woman and have a more wise understanding of my womanhood and my femininity and my masculinity and what all of that actually meant for me. Another thing I did was heal my relationship with sexuality. So as someone who grew up in a really abusive household, I saw sex as either something to be addicted to or something to be really ashamed of. And I think I teetered on the both. And because I got pelvic floor dysfunction and interstitial cystitis, I wasn't able to like have sex or have a hoe phase. Darn. But it taught me a lot when I was able to get back in touch with my body as far as like sacred sexuality and the pain and trauma women hold in their cervix and the shame around sexuality in our bodies. And I remember there was this time in my life when I was really on this sexual healing journey where I had Layla Martin playing on YouTube in my house just all the time. Like I just was always watching Layla Martin. I was always listening to Layla Martin videos. I was doing the practices, the breath work, connecting to my pussy. Like I was really up in that deep work and reprogramming my mind and my brain and my body to see sex as something sacred, something spiritual, something like a portal and a connection to God, which led me to more of the Tantra world. And I spent some time alone in the solo Tantra world. And eventually when I had a partner to bring into that with me, I did. And it was really, really healing the pain in my cervix and my womb. Sidebar, because this just came in, but like, gosh, I'm saying this and I can hear in the back of my head, for some women, even this conversation is taboo. For some women, even this conversation is difficult to listen to, or like, whoa, I can't believe we're talking about this, or whoa, I haven't heard this before, or I've kind of heard this, but I've looked the other direction. That is the work, right? The work is making these conversations about our womanhood, our sexuality, our pleasure, our cycles normal, making women more magic in our day-to-day life. So, seeing how much pain and trauma was stored in my cervix and using actual tools like wands and dilators is something I had to use for my pelvic floor dysfunction to painfully but lovingly release trauma in my cervix, and the pain that I felt in my pelvic floor was a really important part of my journey as well. And that in itself was a very spiritual experience. I think being a woman is a spiritual experience. And if you're not having a spiritual experience as being a woman, you may not be fully tapped into the potential and the possibility of all that's available to you. And I think part of receiving this big love story that I'm in right now, oh my God, I'm gonna cry, is that I'm the spiritual woman and he's the grounded on earth man, and together we come together in the yin and yang, right? Like he ties me to the earth so I don't float away, and I give him access to the other side, to the spiritual dimensions, to the energetic side, right? Like he leads us in the three-dimensional world, in the physical, tangible world, and I lead us in the spiritual world. And it's, you hear about these things, but until you're in them, it's almost difficult to understand what that feels like. And I continued in this time that I was doing all of this personal development work, I continued to attract emotionally abusive men because I was raised by one until I was 15 when my dad died. And then my mom had a new partner at the time. They had been divorced, and he was an emotionally abusive man. He was a conspiracy theorist. He had no problem sitting around and watching Alex Jones all day while my mom was working and trying to provide for the family, and literally burnt out and had an emotional mental break. And her brain just like went offline because she couldn't hold it all, and he wasn't willing to help, and he just made it worse. And I watched all of that, and that was my programming, whether I liked it or not. It wasn't a choice, but the type of man I was naturally attracted to, because my nervous system was on board with abusive men, right? It was emotionally abusive men. I ended up with a lot of addicts. I ended up with a lot of artists and lazy men, right? Or men who would use my feminine energy, become more successful, and then leave. And I was not smart or savvy about how I dated and how I was able to catch red flags. I was not smart and savvy about witnessing really quickly things that would equal an unhealthy, unstable, unsafe relationship. It was normal for my nervous system to be in chaos. And even the awareness of that alone moves mountains. And so when I got out of my last big, long relationship, that I often joke and I say I manifested him breaking up with me, because I was doing quantum leap meditations every single day, visualizing us getting engaged at a park with lanterns everywhere. That was my visualization. And so when he broke up with me so suddenly and so out of nowhere, I was so shocked, right? Like I could not believe it. It was out of nowhere. But in hindsight, looking back, just knowing that I manifested that because I had been breathing myself into a timeline where I was getting engaged. And the universe knew, great, we're going to give that to you. Or God knew, we're going to give that to you. And it's not going to be with him. So we're going to remove the obstacle. And flash forward, that was March of 2022, and December of 2024, I got engaged at Lantern Bay Park in Dana Point. It's like, this is such an emotional story for me because I think it's easy to look at me and think, well, that's just the type of girl who gets that. And that's not true. I was the type of girl who really struggled to feel worthy of big love, and I wasn't attracted to kind men. My nervous system wasn't stimulated by them. I didn't find them very interesting. I found them to be good friends. I was friends with good men, but I was attracted to addicts that I had to save, alcoholics, drug addicts that I had to save, right? Or suicidal men, because that's what I came from. And so it wasn't easy for me. Again, it's taken me 12 years, 13 years to get to this place that I am now, planning my wedding in May, living in the most incredible home with the most incredible man. Like, this was not an overnight journey because I'm pretty or whatever. Like, I was super poor and I was super into toxic, abusive men. And that's where I came from. I came from homelessness and addiction, and just chose something different for myself, because thank God I had a grandmother show me something different. My dad's mother was like, don't go down this road, please listen to me. And I didn't listen to her. I wasn't even brave or bold enough to listen to her until I was 32. You know what I mean? And as I approach 35 next week, October 13th is my birthday. Man, I wish I would have listened sooner, and everything's perfect and as it's meant to be. And I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. And I've had every experience that I was meant to have. so that I could help other people with this journey. I'm so passionate about women having healthy relationships where they're actually safe and deeply loved and cherished. Like I'm so passionate about this because like this behavior did kill my father. It could have easily killed my mother as well. And I watched her deterioration. And thank God she's doing okay now. But man, that was a horrible decade to watch. Okay, so flash forward. I had to start getting curious about the type of men I was dating and actively rewire my type. Like I'm not a victim to my type. I'm not a victim to liking addicts. I'm not a victim to liking younger men. I'm not a victim to liking boys, like boyish looking guys, because I'm stuck in some place in my mind from the trauma. I decided to grow the fuck up and become an adult woman who has herself and likes men who adore her. Like that's who I decided to become. And so I started going on many different first dates with many different types of men that wouldn't typically be my type, and learning how to adore them, learning how to look at beautiful things in them, listening to their stories, asking them questions, genuinely getting to know them and what they've been through, what their experiences as well, and seeing the way that amazing men are often overlooked for the same reason. They're not as nervous system stimulating. I think I didn't know what the energy of a husband was. I didn't really see that. My dad was a husband. I had a stepdad too. They weren't husbands though. They were abusers. They were addicts. They were whatever they were. They were not husbands, right? And I often talk about in my business the difference between boyfriend energy and husband energy. And I was so physically turned on and attracted to boyfriend energy because it's fun and sexy and exciting that I was completely overlooking husband material men. And so it took me time to rewire being interested in husband material men. And then I realized that there had been one in my life the entire time that I kept overlooking because I wasn't mature enough. I wasn't adult enough to get there, right? And so I went through this like 2-ish year experience, let's see, 2022 to 2023, then January 2024. So almost 2-ish year experience of being single, dating. I dated 2 guys for a couple months in that time at different times, and learned a lot about myself. Both of them very wealthy, very successful men, very high performing men. I liked them a lot as people. They still were not my man. Like money isn't the thing that attracts me forever with a forever partner. And so I had to also learn what was that like what was being with a high performing man with money like. I knew again from my grandmother's side of things what that meant, what that looked like. I had that skill, but didn't necessarily love the feeling of it. If like, oh, I'm just with this guy because he's a good provider. We can make it work. It wasn't just that. Like that didn't feel like enough for me. I knew that I desired deeply someone who felt like my best friend, somebody who made me laugh, someone who understood me more than anybody else in the world, somebody that felt like home. And that became new for me is, oh, I want someone who feels like home. And so I started looking for something different. And like I said, luckily there was somebody in my life who had loved me all this time that I didn't know how to receive until I became this woman. And then we started kind of talking about what it would mean if we did date and what would mean if it didn't work, and like laid those negotiations, which you can find in other podcast episodes of mine. Me and Eric, my fiance, so cool, so crazy. Literally, I've been engaged for almost a year, you guys, and I still feel like emotional about it because it was so beautiful and he's a beautiful person. So once I got in the relationship, and this is the stuff that I haven't talked about as much and as freely and openly, like, okay, great. I learned how to attract the good guy. I learned how to be this. I learned how to be feminine. I learned how to have boundaries. I learned how to have self-respect. I learned how to carry myself differently. I learned how to heal my anxious attachment style. I pendulum swung into avoidant and then had to come back to neutral. All of that stuff was happening. And I became a woman who had a successful business, held my own money, loved myself so deeply in a different way than I ever had, like my self-respect through the roof, my values through the roof, quality of my life through the roof. And then I was able to receive that partner. That's the stuff that a lot of people talk about. Once I got into the relationship with Eric, it was hard. It was actually really hard for me to receive him in his fullness. I found myself judging him a lot. I found myself frustrated that I wasn't as sexually attracted to him. Like I thought he was very handsome. Good person, good man. I felt like at home with him. I loved how I felt with him. I loved how much I laughed with him. We were learning French together. It still was really hard for me to receive him fully. And I found myself running from intimacy with him, which I think a younger version of me would have assumed that that just meant we weren't compatible. And that would be wrong. That would be wrong. Because, and I always talk about this, and my grandmother said to me once, when I was telling her about a man who was being really, really kind to me, she was like, now that's a man you could fall in love with. And those words really rang in my ear of like, oh my gosh, no, like love is a choice, especially after like the sexy hormones and pheromones all die down and our brain fully comes back online and we see them as a person in front of us, making that decision, not just based off of chemistry, but based off of like values and how good the person is and how much you adore them and respect them as a human in the world. It's not just chemistry, right? It's like, oh no, I'm actively choosing you and letting this grow over time. And it was really hard for me to receive him, but I just kept that in mind. Like, no, this is a man you could fall in love with. If you don't feel it at a certain time, then like, let's address it. But I was feeling it. I just was also rejecting it, running from it, struggling with the intimacy of it. He'd look me in the eyes for a long time. I'd look away. I'm not a woman who looks away. I'm like a lioness, like Leo moon, like 2, 3 other Leo placements in my chart. I'm a lover girl, Libra sun, Libra Venus, like I'm a Pisces rising. I'm all about the connection and the intimacy and the depth. And again, Tantra world and all of that was in my past. But this version of me was different. And I had to understand that I was moving differently and receiving differently. And I didn't feel like the girl I used to be. Intimacy, Tantra, sex, like all of this, it didn't feel the same to me anymore. And I had to be patient with myself, and he had to be patient with me too, as I really had to hold myself. It wasn't his job or responsibility, it was mine to hold myself through the discomfort of receiving a great man. It wasn't hard for me to receive him opening doors and bringing flowers and paying for the dates and, bringing a lot to the table because I had already been doing that work to reprogram that. And I teach women how to do that in the Muse Mastermind, which is my signature love and dating program. I teach that. That didn't become hard for me. Like that was easy. Him setting up dates, him driving down from LA. I'm in Orange County to take me on dates. And like all of that was easy for me. Receiving the amount of like love and intentionality and goodness and kindness and softness and husband energy was really hard for me. And I was like, it's going to be hard here. It's going to be hard anywhere else. I get to like be really real with myself here and bring it, like hold myself through this and keep him in the loop of where I am having a hard time, where I'm struggling, like remain really honest about it. But like stay the course because this is one of your favorite people on the planet and you do love him and you do adore him. You get to receive this. And I will tell you right now, because all of that sounds like whatever it sounds like, but I'm so fucking in love with that man. I'm so fucking obsessed with him now because I trusted myself and I held myself through it. And I just remember when he did propose to me in December of 2024, the words going through my head. And I was so surprised by this proposal. Like it really, I had a feeling it was coming because we were looking at homes together. And I had told him I don't want to move in with somebody without engagement because that didn't feel aligned with where I had come. When he did propose to me, I just remember thinking the whole time, this man has done so right by me. This man has done so right by me. This man has done so right by me. And that's just what my brain kept saying over and over again to the point where like when he did open the box and he was on his knee and he opened the box and he showed me the ring and the light was on and like made it all sparkly and dazzly. Like this ring is incredible. I barely could see it. Like I said, holy shit. I could barely see it. I just wanted to pull him up off the ground to join me standing, like get up here with me. You're not below me. I didn't go join him below. Like I brought him up and I just wanted to hold him and be held by him. And it softened something in me so deeply, but that doesn't change the fact that as we were signing a lease together, I called him and I was like, I don't like, I just have to make sure we're on the same page about these things. Like, this is the life I expect. And I'm afraid to move in and we're like planning all these things so fast. And, we got engaged in 11 months, which when you know someone for a long time, that's not crazy at all. Honestly, it's not that crazy if you like really, really know them after a year, whatever. But I spiraled a bit. And then after we moved in together and like we had that learning curve of living together as two people who were living alone for quite some time, me for almost 3 years, and then him for 10, 11 years, he had been living alone. That was a learning curve too, that again, like could have easily been run from. And seeing like his little habits and my little habits and all these things of like wanting, needing, quote unquote, needing time alone and in my own energy and getting spicy with him and starting little fights with him and all these little things coming up where I was starting to use that kind of like more avoidant technique of like, I'm just going to run. I'm just going to run because I'm scared. This matters. Like this is all part of the journey where again, I had to hold myself through it and he had to hold me too. And I had to hold him through it. He has done this far more gracefully than I have. And I feel like I feel still a little bit like it's so weird because I don't consciously resonate with this, but somewhere in my body, I was still living in this until a couple months ago. Like I'm kind of like a stray kitten. Like I like you, but pet me from over there because I've been through too much and I will run if you move too quickly towards me. Like I kind of still feel that way because I've had my heart broken so, so, so deeply so many times. I come from abuse. I come from relationships and marriage actually technically being unsafe while still being a lover girly who wants all of that. I've had to really hold myself through it. Even like my libido dipped and I really struggled with that. And I've talked about all of this on this podcast, but kind of putting it in one place is really interesting and vulnerable and emotional. And then realizing in a mushroom journey together that the reason my libido had dipped is because I was finally so held in such a safe, loving environment that all my sexual trauma from the past had come up and that of my lineage. Like my mother's sexual trauma has come up. I know way too much about my mother's sexual trauma and I've known since I was a little girl, which I think is probably wasn't the best decision for my mom to let a little girl in on how much she had been sexually abused and how much other women in our family had been sexually abused. It lived in me, it lived in my body. And so being in a really safe container with someone that I could easily say no to, easily reject, easily shut down, easily act tired or feel not well so that I don't have to go there. Like my body was really bringing all that stuff up and we had to hold each other through it, not just run away. And now it feels like we're in the best, most incredible, like beyond incredible place in our relationship because we chose a relationship that keeps getting better and better and better over time. And we're honest and we're authentic and we're truthful and we communicate really, really well without judgment or shame. Like it's ride or die, right? It's like you and me for life. This is what it is. I choose this and I choose us and I choose the tenderness and the kindness of us. And it's really special. But that journey to even be able to receive that type of relationship, it's easier to run away from. It's easier to miss it and not see that that's actually what is unfolding in front of you and run. And I think that's part of what our generation and our current world is really struggling with when it comes to community and connection is it's easier to swipe left. It's easier to move on. It's even in friendships, it's easier to move on to the next friendship. And the truth is, I don't feel that way actually. I don't feel that way actually. And at times it feels like you don't have a choice because if it's not you, it's going to be them. I've been dealing with this all year of people and friendships just moving on and choosing other people over me or choosing each other over me. And I wondered why there was ever a choice to begin with. You get like you can be friends with many people. You can be close with them and still be close with me. Things like this, it just doesn't totally land or make sense in my brain. And yet with relationships, that's who I used to be. And now I feel that like it's easy to run. And yeah, I mean that has been such a big part of my journey of like really landing in this relationship And I think about it as like the masculine being this really solid, safe, kind pillar, gentle pillar of strength. And I have been this like wild woman dancing around this pillar like a crazy person, like kicking and screaming and loving and passion and all of these things. And he's held so strong and so beautifully through this. And I've also helped myself through it too. Like I get to give myself a lot of credit for that because I really, really have, because none of this is his responsibility. He happily does it, but it is mine. It's my stuff to hold myself through and make that choice. But it's almost like he's been so solid and so sturdy and so strong that even as solid as I thought I was, and then all of this came up because I was in a safe environment, I've landed back into softness again. I've landed back into strength again. I've landed back into love again because he's not going anywhere and neither am I. And that feeling of, no, I have this forever and I'm actually truly safe forever. And I actually am changing my familial patterns and the lineage of women that I come from, and men now, if I ever have a son. It's incredible, like choosing a partner who I went, that would be a great dad. That would be a great boy dad, and that would be a great girl dad. And here are all the reasons why. And here's why I'm so safe with this man. And here's a man I could really, really fall in love with who would cherish me forever. And landing in that, I think the biggest, largest, hugest hurdle that I had to overcome is I wasn't attracted to men like this. It wasn't normal for me until it was. And I think that's where a lot of women miss out on the great guy sometimes, because it's like, oh, I like him so much, but it's just not happening. Like you got to hold a little bit stronger and let yourself be adored a little bit longer, to really know, to really see it, to really receive, to really break those unconscious patterns that you may not know are playing out. And again, like a nice guy and a kind man are two very different things. And I trust that you will know the difference. But receiving a genuinely, truly kind man who will not have your nervous system in chaos or wondering or questioning or chasing is a tough experience in itself, because that's what most women are used to feeling something around. So there's a lot of the inner work that I've been doing. There's my heart on the page for you. And I hope this podcast was helpful for any woman who's like, yeah, I really want to receive that, like kind, gentle provider man who will adore me and cherish me forever. This is how I did it. This is how I received it. And this is how my clients do it too. And they have me in their pockets to hold them through the difficult stuff and to navigate it with them. And it's really special and it's really beautiful. And like I said earlier, nothing feels more important to me than helping other women and men, but helping other women have safe relationships with men who adore them and will adore them forever. Because for women, it can be a matter of life and death. And I am an example of that. I'm proof of that because I come from that. And so thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you loved it. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, make sure you leave a review. Would love to read your words. And if you're watching it on YouTube, watching the video, hello. Give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe, give me a comment, and let me know how this made you feel. And I'm so grateful again to have you here, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Modern Muse Diaries. I'm so grateful to have you here. Don't forget to leave a review, to subscribe for more content like this. Every year for my birthday, I like to host some sort of sexy, fun masterclass or limited series course. And every October, I have Bad Girls Club running in the background that anyone can buy. It is for the good girls and the nice girls to go bad. That means ending people pleasing and self-sacrificing and perfectionism and embodying your inner bad girl. However, I would love to shine a spotlight on this year's birthday masterclass, Hot, Rich, Wifey. This is going to be my most fucking fun and exciting and pleasurable masterclass of the year. It's going down on October 13th. And hey, here's what it's about. Men and masculine energy have very similar energy, and the way you do one is absolutely the way you do the other. So if your relationship with money is challenging and difficult, guess what? So is your relationship with the masculine. And if your relationship with the masculine is difficult, then your relationship with money will be difficult as well. They both carry provider, safe, secure energy when you're in a healthy dynamic with them. So in Hott, Rich, Wifey on October 13th, I'm going to be letting you in on all the secrets and all of the knowledge to heal your relationship with men and money and the masculine energy around you to become the ultimate receiver of all that you've ever desired. I will drop the link to Hott, Rich, Wifey in the show notes below, and I cannot wait to see you there.